The question of what series is canon is here again, and the simple answer is all of them. That's all, folks. Cue Porky Pig and Merry-Go-Round broke down. But wait, hollered the Bluebird website, here's a list of reasons why X series is not canon. Okay, I didn't intend to spend this video ranting, but here I'll humor you. What series is non-canon? This series contradicts what happened in the previous series. This series is not canon. Of course, this is the first argument out of the gate. First off, arguing about continuity errors as immediate disqualification from being canon is rarely, if ever, used in good faith. People being confused about continuity errors or perceived continuity errors is natural. Normally, when the discussion of canon comes up, it normally comes to me as a comics fan, whether to distinguish Earth 616, the mainstream Marvel universe, from Earth 1610, which is the Ultimate Universe. For more recent examples, DC trying to figure out what stays canon and what doesn't because retcon soup has gotten to them. I don't understand what's canon and what's not because the universe or the multiverse or the universe and the multiverse and the omniverse always get rearranged. That's fine to be confused about that. It's not fine for DC and Marvel to pull this, but whatever. Whenever the argument, there's a contradiction, it's not canon, is brought up in this particular fandom, it leads to these three controversial series being targeted for decanonization. Now, let's get one thing sorted out. Canon is not a measure of quality. All fan art is not canon, and I refuse to calumniate and denigrate their art for the sole sin of being non-canon. Works that are completely non-canon have value. Contradictions are not inherently a sign of discontinuity either. Long-running series have massive continuity errors, comic books especially because Marvel has been at this since the 1960s. And of course, early installment weirdness hits. This franchise is 20 years old. It has a lot of continuity errors. First off, does this take place on Earth? We've had real-world animals show up in the early anime, yet this is contradicted later on because this is a fictional world. I fail to see how anyone is trying to argue that the original series is not canon, or the series past the original are non-canon. That one I've seen people argue, but those are mostly the Gen 1ers. Also, I did theater work when I was in high school. Continuity errors aren't just the continuity errors in the story or the world building, it also constitutes prop continuity. If there's a tea set on the table and it's not there the next time the table's on stage without a good reason, then it's a continuity error. Well, this may sound like I'm petty, but you get the idea, and of course, it's theater. Everything's petty. It's just Gaiman's Law in action. Gaiman's Law being, no matter how much a book is proofread, or in the case of the anime, rewatched for mistakes, upon looking at it for the first time with fresh eyes, you will find a typo. This series contradicts what happened in the previous series, therefore this series is non-canon, is a bad faith argument. Continuity errors between two series are more heavily scrutinized in these types of arguments than continuity errors within a given series. Just ask the Steel, Dark, and Fairy types. Retcons are a formal contradiction of prior canon, but I have seen no fan call out in any of these types of arguments the typing retcons. Like, we have had Pokemon be retconned into Fairy type, retconned into Dark and Steel type, because they were introduced much later. They were not part of the original Gen 1 type chart. Yet, we do not see ecumenical councils dedicated to accepting these as canon, nor any alternate universe arguments for their inclusion, I guess. Now, back what I mean to contradictions within a series, the type chart clearly has changed. The Beginning and Gold and Silver were the first two series, but in the East they were just the original series. The type chart changed to incorporate the Dark and Steel types, yet no one says these contradictions break the world and the story enough to render 3 years of episodes in Johto non-canon. And then there's the time this argument on screen, which I have encountered many times, but Death of the Author says I can say what's canon and what's not. Death of the author is a way to derive meaning from a work without scrutinizing the author's personal beliefs, the sociocultural background of the author of a work, or the author's input into whatever the fandom is saying. It is not a red marker to flat out blot out parts that you don't like and keep the parts you do like. We have a word for those people. Authors, or an editor. That's called writing a headcanon, not actual canon. Death of the author is the beginning of the reader. It is not the beginning of another author. So, let it be recorded, this video happened. Goodbye.